we're we're. I'm so happy. I'm gonna cry tears.
When I do
Tears of
a
joy, Kaylin. Tears of
when I
joy.
when I dab, I just look like an old man that's like awkwardly smelling their armpits. I was just like, how do I?
Show title. It took 3.5 seconds for a show title. That's when I dab, I look like an old man smelling his armpits.
That's not
Brought to
bad.
you by Magetalk. That's pretty happened yesterday and working backwards.
Which was
That's
a lot. That was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I want to do that. Like, I'm trying to organize anybody in Austin. Come on out. We're gonna do
100
it.
rounds of golf.
We're gonna do 100 rounds of Top Golf. I'm trying to put some Mage golfs all around the country. Top Golf Mage sessions, and
Well, you do
yeah.
know that Mage Titans Austin is coming up pretty soon.
Oh, we should
That would
totally
be a
get.
great time to get the whole Mage community together, the whole
That's a
Magento
great
community.
idea.
If you listen to the rumors, lots of people are going to be, saying things like Adobe community pretty soon. But
Yeah,
I
we
don't
got to
believe the
talk about
rumors.
that. I know we've talked about that before.
Yeah, but I feel like we're going to talk about it every week until it actually happens.
I know, I know.
I would like to point it. So we haven't had an actual like live stream or a podcast, a proper one in 3 to 4 weeks. So I do want to catch up. There's been a lot of like sort of back and forth and drama. Most everybody that we know at Magento, with very few exceptions, are now officially working for Adobe.
Right.
And it looks like most of them are moving over to adobe.com email addresses. So Adobe is wasting no time. But it seems that you just can't make anyone happy. The normal people who like to be complainy pants on the internet
Yeah.
are finding anything that they can to cast a pall over this, over the merger. And I, on the other hand, would rather just kind of say, hey, a new day's dawned, and let's find out how to work it. This is the
Yeah.
relationship that we have now.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
what's
kind of
your
getting tired of the whole thing. Just in the 10 seconds that you spent talking about it, I was kind of like, yeah, nah, it's not really worth talking about.
yeah, Top Golf is
It
kind of
is
my
a big deal.
passion.
It is a big deal though. I mean, the rebrand of Magento is a big deal. And I know some of us like to say, "Oh, when are we going to stop
It doesn't
talking
exist
about
though. It's not
this?"
happening. People still call it demandware because that's what it is. It's still demandware.
Yeah.
And even if you were to rewrite Magento, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, go in and rename all of the Magento libraries and classes to Adobe? It's still Magento, right?
Yeah.
It's just for in the same way that we said Varian for the better part of 10 years after Varian ceased to exist.
Yeah, and that's the argument some people say, is that it sort of doesn't matter what happens at the corporate level. It'll always.
Because even the people that like are pretty antagonistic about it
Mhm.
can't seem to find an audience to connect with around it, because
Yeah.
there doesn't seem to be a lot of negativity on that front right now.
Like, that's one of the things that surprised me, is that a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, let's do it. That'll allow me to raise my day rates anyways," or and like the Adobe brand. And so I think there's a good chunk of, there's the funny Adobe themed Magento shirts, the MG that they did at Meet Magento Netherlands, and which is sort of a funny joke. But I think that people are, just what I've noticed is, I feel like people are more open to the idea of a rebrand and more comfortable with it. Even people that are pretty deep in the Magento community. But then there's others that aren't, into it, or criticizing it. So that actually made me think it could happen sooner than later. The fact that so many people are sort of comfortable with it. So we'll see. I mean, it's not really that important to our day to day, I suppose.
Yeah.
Particularly my day to day, which is swimming and
Yeah, I was
playing
gonna say, which is basically
basketball,
nothing. It's
which is
it's
nothing.
being a Texan. That's your day to day.
It's my
How
full time
Texan
job.
can I be today? Uh, yeah. I
um,
I would like to put one other thing out there, which is we need to be really, really careful as we bring. Uh, I'm very aware that there is a brand new audience of people out in the world who are paying attention to us, right? And there are thousands of people in the Adobe ecosystem that are looking to us as and experiencing us for the first time, and they have zero context of what you've done for the past 10 years. And
Mhm.
it kind of it really, really matters right now, the picture that you paint of yourself for the rest of the Adobe community, because that's how they're going to see you. It's going to take an awful long time to undo,
Mhm.
any reputation damage that you do to yourself at this point. So I would advise anyone, whether you're pessimistic or not, to make sure that the way that you're approaching anything is to not be throwing around, unfounded rumors and on the internet, but rather to carefully and considerately and thoughtfully present arguments in a way that you think betters the community, not just to make a rant or to be in the public conscious so that people doubt you. Um, and I deal with that, right? I know that feeling because
It's like me.
I'm a one Xer, baby.
I won't even be a 1Xer. I'll be a 0Xer, and you'll be a 1Xer. Jeez.
Yeah, and but that means, I've got to get back to my roots. I got to level up. I got to hustle. And
Carefully, like, because I don't really think about anything carefully, I guess, but in the
no,
sense
that would
of
be off brand for you.
in the sense of like, what's my reputation? How am I presenting myself? It makes sense what you're saying of like,
Sense, but
it's
also it's not really my style. So
not my style. The day to day, I'm kind of just gonna do my thing, and it'll be interesting to see if, for example, at conferences we start to see more Adobe people and get to know them and things like that, and the ways that we communicate with them. We'll see how that goes. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see. But
one
a
one
lot
other
of
one other small change that I think is important for us all to think about is, Adobe has an ecosystem of tools and products that Magento is starting to evangelize right
yeah.
now. And Adobe is beginning to evangelize Magento. I think it goes both ways. So I saw this tweet the other day. I think it was Matt Acey, who's in developer relations. Yeah. So he has he said he put out a blog post that basically says that thanks to Magento coming into the fold, Adobe is now the number 16 contributor to any open. Yeah.
that kind of a thing. I actually got really excited about the videos because I thought I could maybe use them for my little Gary V clips, but
Yeah.
I think it's not as much geared towards. It's more about putting a slideshow together, videos
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so there's been a number of cool ones. There one on Paul Smith's Magento upgrade, which is just a cool microsite. Make fun of me because I didn't actually read it. I'm just mentioning it really, really briefly. The one that I did read, though, was it Rachel?
Rachel Truer. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
She's on
she
LinkedIn. Yeah.
and she did yeah, hi, I'm Rachel Truer. See the story. And so yeah, people are starting to use those tools, and I think they're kind of nifty, kind of
Yeah.
cool.
It's very cool, especially if you already have Creative Cloud. You probably have access to those things, and I think that, um, it could be that there's a whole ecosystem of tools like that that merchants haven't thought about using for social and for, just for landing pages, like for all kinds of different campaign purposes. That would be really helpful for merchants. Somebody should put together, you know, some content around that at some point.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, all the Magento-y things are marching on every single week. I think our actual last true live stream 3-ish weeks ago,
Mhm.
um, we did kind of unpack Magento Association. I talked about the meeting that I attended.
Pretty thorough post on, kind of what the purpose was, respond to some of the concerns, and did say that, the way that the initial thing was organized maybe could have been done a little bit more optimally, not making people feel like they're in the dark, not making people feel like it's a secret cabal of special people that were in those meetings. But overall, I feel like it's going great. I mean, he mentions it's a 6-figure investment they're making with the company that Smith Buckland is how
Yep.
it is. Yeah,
Yep.
okay. I butchered the name so bad last time. To for
Mr.
them
Buck
to do,
Smithlin.
yeah, for them to do what they do, and so I think it's a great sort of gift that they're giving to the community, and so I thought that was great that they clarified a lot of the things people were worried about.
If I had to be a little bit conspiracy theorist about this, though, is that I haven't seen public discourse saying like people these meetings, blah blah blah. Like I haven't seen that out in the public. Maybe I'm just not paying attention.
Uh-huh.
And so I wonder if it's sort of like preemptive answering supposed questions for people that may be thinking these things.
Mhm.
Um, I don't doubt the ability of our community to, raise questions. Why wasn't so and so involved, or why is this happening and not that? Like, I totally think that that would happen, but part of me also thinks that if you're Ben and you're a very smart person like Ben, and you were thinking about, starting an association, or bringing the Meet Magento Association into the fold and starting, sort of a not-for-profit venture that's a spin out of a commercial entity, would be a thing you would have already thought of, right? What would
Like addressing why people were bothered that it was like a secret meeting, that should have been thought about before.
it was thought about. What I'm saying is it was thought about, right?
Oh.
And that's why I think they did invite and had many meetings, on different sides of the world, and a global.
And to me, like, I think a lot of people were like, well, why were those people in the room? Why weren't other people in the room? And so I could see how they might not have had the foresight to think that they should publish that criteria and just be like, look, we know who should be involved in this.
I mean, like,
So that
let's
seems like
take
that, to me,
let's
that
take
seems
that.
like
That's good. Let's
that seems
unpack
like an
that.
optimization. Yeah. Yeah.
Fine. That's
That seems like
great.
a relatively minor optimization of the process.
Yeah, one we should build an entire blog post around. I have a one criticism that I could level is that if you do look if you do look at the roster of people that were in the rooms, one person sort of stands out as and Brian was instrumental in making that partnership happen.
Mhm.
And the Amazon relationship is vital to Magento's success. As recent Magento releases are concerned, where Amazon Pay is going to be packaged into the core of the code. So,
Mhm.
like having representation from your key, like it was what it was. Like, so if you want to
That
level
was
that criticism, that's fair. Like,
I
I'll
was
give you
gonna
that one.
say, yeah, I was gonna say, I believe that was because the third bullet point he said was one failure was that they tended to limit participation to one person per company, and
Yes,
I was assuming that was the Brian thing, that both of you guys were in there from the same company.
but we
Um,
weren't from the same company at the time that it
oh,
happened.
at the
Like,
time. Okay,
yeah.
so who knows? So maybe that's not what that's about. I have
But
no
but
idea.
it could have been. Like, that's okay. Like, I know how the inside joke its manager.
Oh, experience manager.
Yeah, he was saying that he's gonna. TJ was saying he's gonna rebuild his site on Experience Manager.
Ah, yes.
By the way, apparently 2 o'clock in the afternoon, unannounced for a live stream, is not the optimal time
Apparently it's not, especially when you don't have that
when you don't do
weekly
it for weeks in a row. Yeah,
cadence.
yeah.
You will be happy to know that I haven't or no, Indonesia, sorry, actually had to cancel, so we didn't do that. So the last one would have been whatever was on the Thursday before that, which I can't actually. Sun and weeds and Texas bugs.
Yeah, don't
Uh,
smoke weed in the sun, is what I always say.
yeah, but yeah, you gotta be careful with that. But yeah, I've just been I don't know, I've just been taking a little bit of a break from that, and there are a couple that are queued up, but it's just gonna be more few and far between. Quality.
But how did your Oro versus Magento go
Ah,
off versus Isaiah
and
Bollinger?
here you are bringing it up. It was
How did that
okay. It was good. Lot of interest in it, and for me, the big thing is a lot of people, have said, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. You're just getting people. It's like you're just getting people out of it."
You're hearing from more and
There
more
were
people
some.
that
I'm
they
hearing from
they
more and
got
more people,
a lot out of it.
but but yeah, I mean, there were some points where I think Yoav got a little nasty with some of the things he said. And I think in the future, when I do, like, head to head type deals, I'll want to have more clear ground rules of, like, let's not say anything subjective. Let's stick to the facts, things like that, to
Hmm.
avoid that. But there was some good stuff, and a lot of engagement and stuff like.
I
So
will give you credit. credit where credit's due. It's taken you a few years to get why that might be a problem, but now that you get it, uh, I'm proud of you.
So the
I'm
whole
very proud
comment
of
on
you.
it is that you're proud of me getting why they shouldn't have
So,
done it in the
I'm
first
so
place.
proud of you. Like, I can't
That's
even begin to
beautiful.
tell. 3 years ago, Philip is very, very proud of you right now. Um,
That's beautiful.
it is.
Um,
There's so much to talk about at the moment. It seems right,
mhm,
and
mhm.
and and instead of like creating yet another company, you're kind of like spacing it out and trying to figure out what's going next, right? Like I
Dude,
feel like almost everything you've ever done has been like
it's like work, 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 start this, start that, start this. And it's very hard for me. I remember with Mage Mill, there was a period where it got to a point where I was like, "Hey, I can take some time off. Things are doing well." And I tried. I said, "So this time around, I have some time and some space. I've kind of decided I'm doing like a sabbatical or something like that. I guess is what I'm calling it.
a
But
live
just
stream
taking,
sabbatical. That's
yeah. But
that
you really
guy's
love
just
that."
skin and sinew, just walking around.
So more sinew these days though, man. You're looking great. You're getting ripped. So yeah, dude. I mean, we talk about this from time to time. I know it's kind of tangential, but health and fitness and stuff like that. But I've just been trying to find different things, take some time off, work on my tan and stuff like that. And it's so important though, man. It's so important. And I know how hard it is, and I'm still, not in great shape. So,
But but it
I'm in the
the reason it's important, and I'm saying this now as in you know feeling my age a little bit. Last night, it's and all of the best songs from their first 5 albums. It was absolutely
today is
yeah.
the
It was
greatest.
incredible. It really
Yeah,
was. It was incredible, but it was also 3 hours, and I thought to myself around the mark, I'm loving this,
but I'm gonna
but I'm
die.
also 37, and I'm tired. But I think you need to take those breaks. Like you got to do things for yourself. That self care is really important. I I took a vacation to Tennessee and we like hiked around and we went canoeing and we did all kinds of things that are like
So
totally
cool.
outside of our normal.
Yeah.
And by taking ourselves out of like our day-to-day context rather than just staying in because it's easy to do that and it's cheaper too,
Yeah.
but getting us outside and getting us back out of like whatever our normal day-to-day is and having some adventure, my
Hmm.
goodness, like it like cleared out all the cobwebs from this year, and there's been so much good this year, but it's like also been a tremendous amount of work,
Hmm.
and I feel like renewed. And so even if it's not just like physical fitness, I think mental fitness is really, really important.
Yeah, and
And
it's
taking time for
it's such
yourself. Yeah.
a it's such a big part of it. Like probably one of the bigger benefits to exercising is the mental side of it. Because arguably, like I know in the past I've tried to exercise a lot and not ate well, and you don't really lose weight. Like it's really
Right.
you lose weight based on what you eat. The exercise I think is mostly important for your mental health. And then also you're going to build some muscle and things like that too. But yeah, it's so important, and it takes time to build it and develop it. Like I think that was one of the misconceptions I had. Is like I was like once I had some time, I was like, okay, like doing things with your kids and with your family, you got to find things that they like and that you also like. I also want to do some kayaking and stuff like that. I'm thinking about getting a kayak because I think that'd be fun for me and my kids to do together. So it's really, yeah, dude, it's so important. I think we
I spend time focusing on trying to like get myself healthy or make sure I take time and mental breaks and take care of myself emotionally and mentally and put my family
Mhm,
first and all those things. At the same time, you can't not stay still on a professional capacity. And that's
mhm.
what I was saying before is that we're coming into this time now where the Magento 1 accomplishments are not even secondary anymore. They're far over on the election health is awesome.
Connection health. Our
You're
health is
all
so good.
wrong, and you should
We're
feel
so
bad about it.
so good. Hey, I want to give a congrats to new COO, Chief Operating Officer, at
Opposite.
Met Mage Mojo, David Gitman, Commerce Hero Front, a whole lot, my friend. A whole lot of stuff is going on. I built out some reports today. Actually,
Is that
did
what a
some.
sabbatical looks like for you?
That's what it's about.
Building out reports.
Building out reports. I'm trying to limit it to sort of the morning ish is when I the reason I had to do the reports was because I have a buddy of mine who's done a bunch of hires, and he's always hounding me for reports. And I'm like, you can make your own spreadsheet or whatever. And then there was an issue because the way I handle payments, there's a semi-automated system. So it gives me reminders and then I manually process the payments. Okay. So I made a mistake and I did a double charge, which I then had to refund. So then I was like, dang, I got to do the reports now because it's sort of my fault for making the mistake. So I had to take the time to do the report.
Yeah.
Anyway, super TMI.
Unsabbatical, resabbatical,
Yeah.
unsabbatical, resabbatical.
But trying to just take, the or what I'm shooting for. Yeah. We'll see how long I last with it.
Yeah. That white privilege is showing.
Oh gosh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's the other thing is like some people aren't so happy about your success. I'm very happy about your success.
Thank you. No, but it's good. Got a bunch of stuff going on, a bunch of cool candidates coming through. This one guy just yesterday is somebody who I've seen on Twitter for forever. Like if I told you his Twitter name, you definitely know who it was. And
That's awesome. We
cool.
we have our meetup, South Florida Magento meetup is happening on August 1st. I'm being very specific. It's in the Pacific Northwest Magento meetup, and that's happening August 1st. Jump on a page that's using Magento in their organization, all the way down to, a company that's looking to launch on Magento that's small and sells ham radios and, but they're
Nice.
very aspirational and I think that is so cool. Like companies of all these sizes that are going to come together and share some experience together.
Cool.
You are in the Miami, Fort Lauderdale beach area around August 2nd, or if you're somewhere in Florida, want to make the trek, we'd love to have you. Let me know that you're coming, and you can register on meetup.com.
Cool. Very cool. That sounds like it's going to be fun.
We've been pretty lucky. Thursday nights haven't had a lot of rain recently.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're actually, Rafael Correa Gomez is going to be in town. He's a 2018 class of Magento Masters. And I believe, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. Maybe we could do a little Q&A.
That's going to be huge.
So a little something for everybody. If you're curious about what's going on with Adobe, Ben will be there to talk a bit about the foundation and some of the Adobe stuff. And if you're curious about, some developer questions or any of that fun stuff around masters, we'll be there on hand. It'll be fun.
Very nice.
And we do. We are very spoiled. We have an awesome group of folks.
Yeah, you put together a nice meetup out there, man. It'd be interesting. I know there's meetup.com sort of tracks all the different meetups and which ones get the most attendance. I think London is the biggest or whatever. It'd be neat if that could be sort of gamified. Like you could see where you were on the leaderboard.
Counts.
You're like, that's lame.
It's how you use it or something.
I want to mention that I want to mention on Cloud, there was a stream on TJ's stream with the Cloud team, very in depth. We had, and I had done this video talking about some issues with Magento Cloud, which most of those issues were somewhat outdated at the time that I thought it was really good. And so kind of restored some of my faith in Magento Cloud. Also, I was introduced to this dude, Yevgeny, not sure his last name, who's one of the product managers for Cloud, who's super sharp, and he's responded to lots of questions. He digs right into the specifics and stuff like that. So he's on Twitter, and he's really cool. He just digs right into specific questions around Cloud and stuff. So that's cool. I'm excited to see where that's going, and want to say sorry for giving them a hard time, but I was a little bummed we didn't get to do the stream with them because they did it with TJ first. So what the hell, whatever.
That's, it's
What are you
fine.
gonna
It
do?
is what it is. TJ's crushing it, man.
He's
Real
doing some
proud of
good
him
work.
too. He is. I think it's important that other people have the ability to speak and have platforms. I actually, one of the things that my keynote at Imagine was sort of this evolved concept, but it started um, back in June of last year, so a little over a year ago, at Meet Magento Sweden. I gave a keynote at that event that was sort of talking about failure and sort of how failure can become, how you can turn that around and use it. It was like the genesis of the idea, and it kind of became it evolved sort of beyond that concept. I think the final time that I actually gave it in that context, that talk in that context, was in Manchester, at Mage Titans Manchester in November. But anyway, I think that that's really important. No one's perfect. Everybody's gonna act out. They're gonna make mistakes. I've done
Mhm.
this even recently, right? And I've said some things I shouldn't have said. I went off recently about I forget what it was that I flipped out about.
You have been ranting quite a bit less recently, though. I feel
Yeah,
like you're much more zenned out overall.
I
You
am.
don't really get into it. It's good, man.
But
You're
I sort of lost it recently, and I had to go back and make amends and sort of say, hey, like, listen, I shouldn't have taken that public, or I shouldn't have I talked out of turn. Not to say I'll always do it perfectly going forward either. I'm, you know, but in your court at the time to kind of go through that and, oh, why is he saying stuff about us on a stream, and everyone's exchanging angry tweets, but eventually, like, you get to a point where we all grow out of it. um
I
so
think
I'm not
so.
saying,
I
yeah, like,
yeah,
it's useful. What I'm saying is it's useful,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think the takeaway, and TJ had a good way of putting this in the stream, which is that if people think that you have a problem, then you have a problem, even if you don't actually have that problem. So,
Mm,
what people's perception is, and there is there is a reality that information gets outdated. Somebody's used cloud 6 months ago and they complain about XYZ, and then me or anybody else seeing that, and you see that from 5 6 7 8 people, maybe some of them are have an experience 6 months ago, some 8, some 2, some 3. You build a picture of what's going on here based on outdated information, and because of the way that the partner ecosystem works, the nature of the partner ecosystem, certain things, certain criticisms are sort of kept private within the partner ecosystem. So people that are outside are kind of feel like it's this opaque thing. So you see these things going on, and you're like, oh, this is just all a big mess. So I think that the takeaway is that um, I think they definitely did a great job of communicating things, and I think that's something that they're improving. And so yeah, like you said, I think that that's a win for them and for everybody. And so hopefully there was some value in that. And I think there was. I think that, and I think going forward they're doing more in terms of communication and stuff like that, which is awesome. Um, I have an extension of the week. Good news.
do
One of
it.
our
Or I
most
haven't we haven't
popular. This is
the most popular, least
least
frequently
executed
executed
segment.
segment,
It's
right?
practically the only reason people tune into this and everything. It's called Quad Pay, and I actually, a buddy of mine, Wes, actually a longtime listener, his brother-in-law works for them. Interesting dude. He's worked for Walmart and for Jet. And he just joined Quad Pay because you pay in 4 installments. It's kind of, you might think similar to, like, my first question was, how is it similar to like Affirm, or what's the other one? These things where you can
Yeah, there's lunch, there's
you can
bread, there's
Affirm and
yeah,
Bread, yeah, where you
right.
can easily do installment payment plans. Like I did that when I
Right.
bought a mattress through Casper. I did the Affirm thing, and it's like a no interest loan. So you out to some other site. I got to put in my social security number. I got to do all this stuff to
Yep.
basically it's a quick loan application, but it's a little annoying, and you're like, oh, I'm giving my information. The cool thing about how these guys work is that they just purely take your debit card, I think, or credit card, and they handle everything based off of that. So there's no actual loan. It's just installment payments off of your debit card, and they manage all that. And as the merchant, you pay like a couple extra percentage points, but it increases conversion rates. Sure that they can handle that risk, and then so
Right.
you're just paying a couple extra percentage points on top of like if you'd normally pay cent. I'm guessing it's like 4 or 5%.
Right. It's
Um,
more, but
yeah,
yeah, it's oh, that's interesting. There's so many of these little sort of a firm it decided they went to the route of let's create like a brand for ourselves where people will be able to once they're approved for a credit line through a firm and they pay it off. And then there's
exactly.
the other side of that, which is really interesting, which is there's a whole class of merchants now that are doing this directly. Um, so I saw a list of um, the top music or the top retail music stores in North America recently,
Mhm.
and of the top 10, I've shopped at 7 of them. As a musician, you see a bunch of music gear behind me. I've bought from all of them at some point. Guitar Center, Sam Ash, Sweetwater, American Music Supply, you name it, right? And there's a ton of them. But of the top 10, 5 of them offer retailer based installment payment financing that is not coming through a third party fintech company like a firm.
Oh wow.
And so a company like Sweetwater has decided that they're large enough that, and they do, to withstand it, plus other factors like credit history, home address, home property value, whether you own your home, all those things are public information. They ping a bunch of databases, they figure it out.
Payments, but their name, they're kind of with going with the four payment payment plan. Um, but and the other thing I realized is that I was talking to the guy, and he's like, yeah, they're wanting to kind of break into the Magento community, and I did a quick Google, and I didn't see a Magento extension, so it's possible they don't have a Magento extension yet, or it's
So
just
the
like
extension of the week
a
is not an
it's
extension
not it
at all.
might not be an extension as I'm googling it.
Neither extension nor a business.
So it might just be a job or something that I'm not entirely sure, but yeah,
Interesting.
it's interesting. Oh, and then on the price point stuff, I think he was saying that certain price points, like once you get over $1,000, like AOV, that's where a firm and stuff like that makes a lot of sense. And I was like thinking, yeah, like the Casper mattress, the 1200, that's where that makes a lot of sense. So there's sort of a sweet spot, I think, somewhere in the like $30 to 1,000 or 300 to somewhere around there, where it makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure, like you were saying, with the $2,500 limit or whatever it is, you're going to want to look at your price points, your AOV, to see which is the best solution there. So having said that, we're at our time, and I think we are ready.